and Governor Granholm allotted $93,000 to this project for Idlewild called the Governor's Initiative for Idlewild. Betty invited me and 4 or 5 other people to constitute what was called the National Resources Team. And it was comprised of an architect, a landscape architect, a woman from Florida who had worked to create the Zora Neale Hurston Memorial Site there, and myself. And our job was to come and get to know Idlewild and make some recommendations for its development in terms of a tourist site. That's how I came here. And we didn't, actually the work of the team was an affirmation of what everybody knew already, right? That it was wealthy in terms of historic sites, that the beauty of the natural environment was such that it would attract people for a lot of different reasons. Healers, people coming to be healed, people interested in the wildlife, etc. That it had enough space to do some significant expansion in terms of creating places where people would like to come and just be at peace, restaurants, whatever, bookstores, whatever, that there was that capacity. The 2 things that we recommended were that Idlewilders should work for greater unity among themselves, because there were a lot of different divisions, not major divisions, but divisions that created tensions, like between the summer people who just came in for the summer and the people who were here year-round. And there wasn't at that point really good communication. People who lived here year-round saw things that needed to be done, and they wanted to get on it and get it done. And they were not careful or sensitive in terms of touching base with people who were here at summer. And that group really constituted the legacy group for the most part. People who had inherited their places and whose families had been coming here for a long time. So there was a sense of real possession, right? And so they recommended that people work to achieve some kind of reconciliation there. And they also recommended, or we also recommended, that Idlewild move towards establishing itself as a township, because it was under the aegis of Yates Township. So there was that tension. So those were really the 2 major recommendations. But I fell in love with Idlewild meanwhile. Okay. So after the team was finished, Betty asked me if I would do a cultural study based on interviews with Idlewilders. And I was really happy to do that because I saw it as a kind of continuity of the kind of research and the kinds of questions and issues I've been engaged with for my doctoral work that had to do with what's the importance of the natural environment to people's sense of identity, and how important is it for people to feel rooted in some place in order to feel a strong collective and individual identity, right? So when she said, do you want to do this? I said, yeah, absolutely. So I ended up interviewing 32 Idlewilders, some of the older generation, some of my generation, some younger. There were 2 centenarians, Miss Zania Way and Miss Gladys Griffin, who were already 100, and so they had memories that went way, way back. I'm going to read just a few sections from the book, but I just want to say briefly why Idlewild is so important to me. So it was founded in 1912, right? And it's true that it was originally 2 white men, brothers, who decided, hey, we're doing resorts in this area. Maybe there's some African Americans who would like to have a resort too. They got the help of brothers, and they set up a very brilliant recruitment strategy in terms of reaching out to major black areas reaching out to black newspapers, actually organizing tours, right? Going into the cities, getting the people together, bringing them up here, welcoming them, and introducing them to the loveliness of the place. But what I find really so valuable and such a treasure is that in 1912 and during the years of the early development of the settlement, in the larger society, we were under extraordinary attacks, right? Just terrorist attacks, right? It's a period of lynching everywhere. The NAAC documented between 1859 and 1919, in that period, there were over 3,000 lynchings, right? And these were just lynchings that were recorded somewhere in a newspaper or whatever, right? And then that number just swelled to 5,000 or so, right? And then they had the incident of the massacres, right, in the 20s of Tulsa, Oklahoma, the black community, where, there was really a pogrom. They didn't just lynch people and beat people, they wiped out all of the wealth that that community had created as well. And then the same in Rosewood in Florida. So while all of this is going on in the United States, our people are deciding if we have the resources, we can create a place that's safe, where our children can be safe, where we can enjoy the life of ordinary people, right? Without the fear that was being experienced in the urban areas. So this is an amazing undertaking to come into the woods, to forge the roads, to build the houses, to create an infrastructure that allows you to live with relative comfort, and then to build all the other social organizations, the social infrastructure that sustained that, and sustained it all these years. So the book was published in 2011 to commemorate 2012, the 100th anniversary of this settlement. Okay. And I'll just read you a few sections. I'm sorry that we're doing this as you're leaving, because I know people want to get on the road. All right, this has been beautiful. Time to go home. It was originally scheduled as one of the early presentations on Saturday morning, and I had to cancel because I was taking my granddaughter to college. It was her assignment. Her assignment was 9 o'clock Friday morning to bring all her stuff and settle into her dorm room. So that was my mission on Friday morning. Sorry about that. And I didn't know that that was going to be the case until, she got that assignment. So that's why we didn't do this earlier. So you could have been thinking about these things as you moved around while you've been here this weekend. But I want to open up with something that I think really reflects the feelings that Idlewilders have and had about this community. And this poem was written by Phyllis Colvin, who had bought the Idlewild property. He was Dr. Albert Holding, if I'm correct. And the person I interviewed was his grandson, William Holding. William and Mark are still alive, and they still use their cottage here.
I think William was my principal.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. He was a very, very helpful interviewee, and he gave me this poem that was written by his mother, and he gave me a lot of memorabilia and photographs and everything. So this is Phyllis Colvin's poem. It's called Summer's End. It's late in the month of October, and I stand at the end of the pier with the cottage behind me, lonesome, closed till sometime next year. Though the sky overhead is cloudy, when the sun breaks out from behind, all the past summer pleasures come crowding into my mind. I think of the shouting and laughter compared to the quiet of today. For now it's the rustle of leaves I hear. My friends have all gone away. So since the fun is over and cottages locked and made fast, the boating, the swimming, the fishing are only a part of the past. With a last lingering look about me at the beach and the water so blue, I turn from my silent reflection and take my departure too. So I thought that poem really kind of evoked, the rhythms coming up every year, opening up the house, then staying the whole summer and then closing up as the children had to go back to school or whatever. So I'll just read you one or two passages, and then Blair is going to take it up from there. So this is from the introduction to the book. This book features the memories, reflections. Oh, let me tell you what the book is I'm reading from. That would help, right? Home Sweet Sanctuary, Idlewild Families Celebrate a Century. It's a Broadside Press publication. So it's a collaboration between the Idlewilders, who were the interviewees, and Broadside Press. So I'm reading from the introduction.
Can we buy that book somewhere?
It's available at Wayne State Press. They're distributing it now. And I believe you can order it on Amazon as well. This book features the memories, reflections, and community aspirations of contemporary Idlewild residents, with whom my assistant, Makala Evans. Makala was here yesterday. How many of you know Makala? Okay, she was finishing up high school, I think, when she was here working with me, and she was finishing Ferris State. She was in undergrad. Now she's doing her PhD at Eastern Michigan. So we conducted interviews over a 2-year period beginning in June 2008. Though some of the interviewers are year-round Idlewild residents, most represent diverse regional bases from which they return each year to open their cottages. And I should mention that historically people have come from all over the near diaspora, right? Canada, the islands, and all over the United States, of course. So this is another value of this place, right? That relationships, contacts could be made, right? And they were lifelong contacts, right? And people could inform each other back and forth across this country. Very valuable, strengthening for us as a people in this country. I already told you that there were 2 interviewees who were 100 years old. They welcomed us into their homes and shared treasures, photographs, keepsakes, and other memorabilia of personal and historic value. I should mention that Aurora was part of the Broadside team. We decided we were not going to do what other researchers had done, because people complain to us, like, what are you going to do with our stuff? It's like, right? Do I dare let you have this, right? So rather than take it from them, we convened a session right here, and people brought the things they wanted to share with us, and they were photographed and later digitized and archived and everything. So we were able to give people's treasures right back to them. Themes and concerns that emerged in the interviews provide the framework for this book. The interviewees' most persistent reflections pertain to the deep attachment they felt to the place itself, the quality of shared life, and the ways in which the place had shaped them as they grew up as children and as they matured. This tenacious personal identification with the community could be expressed in very surprising ways. For example, Arthur Butler, the great-grandson of Idlewild pioneers Dr. Isabel Butler and Dr. Arthur D. Butler of Evanston, Illinois, who had to forge the road to get to the site where they built their big family homestead. Arthur told me laughingly that a potential marriage partner had to pass the Idlewild test. If she didn't look forward to spending time at the family's place in the woods, there's really no need to go on courting her. So Arthur's parents were, daughter of one Idlewild family, son of the other. So they were, I didn't intend to do this, but I'll just show you. These are the 2 Butler doctors who were married and who built one of the really beautiful families. And those were author's grandparents. Great-grandparents. Okay, so I'll just read you one or two other sections, and then we'll go to talking about the present. Let's see, what others? Wanted to read you page 7.
Some people still use that test, litmus test.
What? Whether, was the test used on you, Susan? She passed, clearly. She's still passing. Some people choose trying to be discreet.
Oh my.
So I'm going to read you this passage, and then I want to read you what Dr. Du Bois said and what Madame Walker said, and then we're going to move into more of a conversation. As one generation gave way to the next, Idlewild families integrated their relationship with the natural environment as a central aspect of their own identity. With so many affirming experiences derived from living in close association with nature, rest, healing, immersion in the extraordinary beauty of the lake country, relief from pressures and disappointments of urban life, safety and freedom for the children, Idlewilders gained a profound sense of the value of the community they had built and sustained. Thus, the pride and satisfaction felt by contemporary residents. This emotional investment in place, the land itself, appears particularly strong among individuals who began coming here as children. The Idlewild pioneers claimed 2,700 acres of land, and we discovered that this present-day Idlewild has not claimed all of the original land, to which they committed their earnings, their creativity, their productivity, and their hope. In this process of personal and collective investment of resources, they created an independent community removed from the segregated cities from which they came. Here they could experience a true sense of settlement and dwelling, a sense of rootedness and security that they might never have enjoyed in their urban homes. And remember, these were, for the most part, people who had enough dispensable income, right,
That's right.
to build here. And also I might point out that the doctors and lawyers who made it possible didn't spend the summers here, right? They came, got them settled in, went back to do whatever. And so during the summer it was mostly children and women, a community of children. Okay. Their energies liberated in this space, they brought their industriousness to a remarkable engagement with nature that resulted in the sanctuary that persists today. They built cottages appropriate in size, design, and materials to the wilderness they loved. They established churches, social clubs, and cultural institutions. They provided cultural instruction and activities for their children. They nurtured beautiful gardens, and there was competition, I'm told. Because one of the Sunday afternoon leisure activities was to drive around and see the gardens and compare, right? They supported the best popular entertainers of the day, and of course this is the period, 40s and 50s, and a little bit into the 60s, I guess, when the nightclub scene was so important. By the way, this book doesn't emphasize the nightclub. There are other books on them that emphasize that. I felt I didn't need to do that. And also, I felt from the interviewees, yes, that was an important part of the history, but it wasn't the essential part of the history. And it was only, a period of the history, whereas this long arc of what we're trying to do here, what we have been doing here, and there were the families that went through that whole arc, right? And there were also families or individuals who really weren't even interested in the nightlife because they had evolved another kind of social engagement in their homes, inviting each other in and out. And so yes, that happened, and yes, that was important, but it wasn't the essential thing about Idlewild. That's what I derived from the interviews. Let's see, so it's saying cultural institutions, instruction for the children. They treasured ideas and promoted intellectual discourse. And that's really important, especially as we envision what Idlewild can be now and into the future, right? What are the new ideas? What are the new methodologies, the new technologies, etc.? What do we need to be bringing our attention to? And is this a space where we can both think about those things and also maybe experiment in, in building or applying those ideas? And I think that's what Blair has